All right, hi everybody. We'll get the afternoon festivities started. Namjun is going to be talking about using ESRI mobile app for Arches field data collection. Okay, Namjun.
Thanks, Brett. Good afternoon. My name is Namjun Kim. I'm from Geographics. It's great to be here. I enjoyed all the great talks. So thank you for organizing this, Preston and then Eddie. Thanks. So I'm going to be talking about the ESRI mobile app for the ArcGIS data, field data collection. So for many organizations, especially local government agencies in the United States, adapting ArcGIS is a bit of a challenge because they already have established traditional GIS system. So at least sort of connection between the ArcGIS and the traditional GIS system is sort of becoming a important requirement. And then, so we've been interested in the connection between this ArcGIS and the traditional GIS. Then ArcGIS Pro add-in or the QGIS plugins are good examples for that. So you can create a geometry or to make some edits to the existing geometry and push back to the desktop application and then push to the ArcGIS. And today I'd like to present another sort of possible way to make that connection. So I'm going to show you how we could use the ESRI mobile apps and the ESRI server to save the data to the ArcGIS. Also how we can use the bulk data manager, the custom import module, to import the data to ArcGIS. Currently, ArcGIS version 7 doesn't have its own dedicated data collection app, so it's a good opportunity to sort of explore the other possibilities. So currently ESRI has two mobile apps, I believe, and Survey 123, and then field app, the field maps. And then for this work, we're using the Survey 123 and then ArcGIS Online. So here's a sort of brief description of what's available in ESRI side. So ESRI has a ArcGIS REST API. So this is a typical the REST API for ArcGIS enterprise stacks and getting data or saving or deleting data and using the HTTP request. I think it follows the sort of REST framework standard. And then there's another one that's called ArcGIS Python API. So it's basically the Python wrapper around the ArcGIS REST API. And so it's easy to work in a Python apps or Python script. So for example, you can create a so-called GIS object, and then you can just GIS.login, then it will log in and then log you in and then maintain the connection for you. But it comes with the NumPy and Pandas and Jupyter and all the popular scripting tools. But that means it requires some installed, and then it has its own huge dependency, and it's grew huge ever since. And so initially, the development was started for ArcGIS version 6 with the Python API, but unfortunately there's a conflict with ArcGIS dependency now, so with the ArcGIS version 7, so Cyrus was struggling with it, and so it's mostly rewritten by Cyrus recently for the ArcGIS version 7.6 with the ArcGIS REST API. And then it was actually proposed to the California Department of Transportation's ESRI system, so it's emergency response information system, so the management and the data collection system. So here's what we're trying to do. The idea is simple. So instead of using the dedicated app directly to the ArcGIS, we are trying to use a third-party apps and its server. And in this case, we are trying to use the Survey 123 and then ArcGIS Online here. And in fact, we can use any ESRI apps or desktop too, and I believe we can use other open source mobile system like Fulcrum or the ODK. So it's open up the new possibilities, I believe. So and so here's sort of good timing to do some experiment to do if we can see the live demo. So please take out your phone. If you want, you can use your laptop too, but you can take the QR code. Hope it's working. And or you can go to the address directly from your browser. Then you should be able to see the web version of Survey 123. So everybody can see it? Good, good. So you can have some fun. So it's very simple form, but if you can fill out the form, photos aren't required, but it would be appreciated. So I'm going to give you like 15 seconds. So the address will be here. So if you want to contribute later. So we are trying to use the bulk data manager as a custom ETL module. So there can be 3 different sort of strategies to implement the custom ETL module. There could be more, but so stage the data and then let the arches save them into the tiles. What do I mean by that? So you don't have to try to read any of this, but we have a row staging table in the core arches. If you look at the row staging table, you can notice that the tables are pretty similar to the tile table. So node groups there, tile ID, parent tile ID, and resource ID, things like that. And then the value is the sort of eventually become the tile ID. So let's close look at the values here. So this is the upper part is the actual value in the staging table. So it's basically the tile data with the metadata in it. So here's an example of the stage, the value. This JSON is, it has only one node, but it representing basically the tile ID. So eventually became the tile ID. If you wanna, so that's a little bit more complicated one. This is a GeoJSON data type. And so if you can create this tile-like object, then you can stage it. The arches can, not me, but arches can do the rest of the ETL. So, and well, I mean, if you're not familiar, the stage data can look a little bit unnecessarily big, but the stage data format is sort of especially useful if you want to save the validation information. Although the staging table has a sort of its own error message in a sort of a tile level, but you can add the validation information, and then you want to track down what was wrong at something that it fails, and so it's going to be useful. And so you can later collect, so simply from the load staging data, you can collect the error message, or you can go into the validation, the metadata. So if the valid is false, then you can get some nodes there, so you can use it. So it's a bit of flexible, but that's basically how we sort of save the data. So it's so that you can later you can track down if something went wrong. And the next possibility is to prepare the data that Arch can stage and then save to the data, the tile. So basically, if you have this is a sort of a JSON key value pair, so node alias as a key, and then the value is node value as a value, then the arches can stage the whole thing to the staging table with the metadata. And then, for example, we're using the co-arches data type validation, but you can go through the validation. So if you stage the whole thing, then staging function will do the validation and then save to the stage table, and then the save to the tile eventually. So that will be all sort of automatically done. So and if you are ambitious, then you can write the whole thing from scratch to the save to tile. So but you will have to, I mean, you can skip the validation, but you will have to write the validations and or how to write to the table. So we are trying to do the second strategy, basically. Not quite there, but so we can just create a big JSON value node alias and the value pair, and then let arches can stage and save the data. So I'm not going to too much detail in the sort of Arches side, the ArcGIS ESRI side, but yes, ESRI, it's basically the REST API, and that's probably not very difficult to understand. But so it's typically used the auth, the authentication, so authorization, yeah. And so first thing you need to do is get the access token. So depending on the server, you will have something like this, ArcGIS, the generate token endpoint. So you hit the endpoint with the credentials. So you get the token. It's at the bottom there. So you can then using that token to sort of the request the subsequent sort of request. So you can next you can ask for the GeoJSON. So it's a format equals GeoJSON. I'm not sure you can see the pointer here, but and then where clause is 1 equals 1, so sort of basically it's always true. So it's ESRI's way to say that I want everything because the where clause is required. So our field is I want all the field with the geometry, and or if you so load staging table has there's a timestamp. So every time you run the module, then it will timestamp when it happened. So you can use that as a sort of next time you do the same. There are probably various ways to do this, but you can get the timestamp and then compare with the creation day. Then you can get only the update after since the last update. So and so this is a sort of a result of that. It's sort of not the whole thing, and I'm not even sure you can actually see it. But so it's a feature collection with the properties, all the properties with the object ID. So and then if you have attachment, the files or the photos and attachment, so you bit tricky, but you have to ask sort of info first. So if it has an attachment or not. So if you can ask for, so this is the feature server. 0 means the first layer, and then object 1, and then does it have an object, the attachment? And then it will return all the information. So if it has more than one, then it will show you the sort of a list array of the JSON. So this is there's a ID. It starts with the ID, so that's attachment ID. So using that attachment ID, so you can actually ask for the actual attachment. So that's first layer, first object, attachment, first object. So it asks for the JSON, then it will give you the JSON with the whole block of the file, so attachment with the file. Then you can save that into the upload files. So if you have something files in uploaded files, then if the file, the Django will, Arches will looking through the directory to find the file. So So if you can create something like this with the files in your directory, so node alias value pair, and the files saved in a uploaded files directory, then you can let arches do the stage and then save the arches. So save tiles in arches. So am I going too fast? I think I am. But so let's see. I can do this. Okay. Please. Okay, so nothing in it yet. So I only have one project, so it's a guest book. And then if I import it,
The salary run?
no. I can't use that much. Okay. Taking a little bit longer than I thought it would. I am. Okay. I hope I convinced that.
Well, Namjun, while we're waiting, can you explain the plug-in there? It has the tile where you load survey 123 data, and it showed a drop down of, you said guest book, you have one. I mean, how does that happen?
Sorry,
The project drop down. The project drop down where you selected guest book.
that's it has the front end point. It's a well, at the moment it's a manually have a drop down there. It's not looking for the any project you have or anything like that. You sort of manually have a ID, and then so you can just get the ID from the drop down. It's manually to have a big. I mean, you can have an array, I guess, but.
Okay. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So here's like, so if you predefine this vehicle module, do you already know the schema? So you've hard coded the schema that it's looking for, or is it a generic module that is looking at a feature service endpoint and check what the fields are available, and then is it dynamic or pretty hard?
Oh, at the moment it's not dynamic. It's a predefined. Yes. So mapping's in it. So we were at some point we had a sort of similar interface that the single CSV importer has. So it can get all the properties and then you can map it manually, but you can map it. So that's a possibility.
Yeah.
But for this, it's done. So at the moment it's predefined. It has a mapping with the so ESRI the properties as ESRI column names with the artist node alias, but it can I guess we can dynamically create something, but probably have to go through something similar to the single CSV importer. Most of this was sort of based on the single CSV importer because it was great talk about the single CSV, the improvement on it, but the ESRI data is all flat, so we don't have to worry about the sort of others. So okay, so let's. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for contributing with to contribute this, and so yeah, great. Yes. So files and everything. So
No photos? Oh, wait,
Okay, so I have a, wow. So I hope that I have shown you how to collect the data using the ESRI mobile data collection app, and then and using the custom ETL module. So collecting data and then to save them, saving tiles to the artists using the ArcGIS online data, and then we sort of sending back the data, so editing the data that we just downloaded, the sort of fetched, and then we edit it and then push back to the ESRI. That's sort of probably the next step for the project if it's yep, and along the way, so I hope that I can show you the bulk data manager, how it works, like the basic level, but stage data, how it look like, and then saving the tiles, and then and hope that it can be sort of applied in sort of other desktop.js tools or other mobile data collection. And I know that there's going to be some talk on the ODK application too, so that's exciting. So, yep, thanks.
Any questions? We got someone in the middle there, so.
Are there any repos we can try? Is there an open source repo for some of it that we can try, or is that still in progress?
It's still in progress. I mean, yes. Well, yeah, I hope that, I mean, we can. We can create the branch. I mean, it's sort of out of the branch, out of the Iris, but we can create some branch too.
Yeah, there's no problem with that.
In the initial diagram, the arrows are going directly to Arches from the mobile apps. Is it ever talking directly to Arches, or is it always going through the server?
Or in this
In the first
What?
diagram?
No.
No, so it's always going through the server, right?
Yes. And at one time we have a sort of connection. So we're hoping to have something similar.
Okay.
But that's.
Can I add something there? I just, one of the advantages of not going directly to Arches in this case is that we're updating an AGOL online feature class. So as Namjun pointed out, someone on desktop using ArcGIS Pro can access that data as well. So they'll see the immediate results of the data collected in the field. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Can I add one more thing?
So we kind of purposely didn't show the authoring tools for Survey 123, but one of the things that lets you do is build these forms interactively. And those of you who know me well know I'm pretty happy to slag ESRI at every opportunity. But this is a case where they have actually, I think, done a pretty good job. So it's worth a shout out. Like, they've actually taken Survey 123 from a kind of manky application to something that I think is actually pretty capable. And the ability to quickly create a data entry form that has conditional logic in it and like all the things that you would want to build a pretty credible field data collection application. It's surprisingly okay. So as long as you're ready to open up your wallet and pay the man, is a plausible way to actually collect data.
One more.
Great presentation, especially pulling off a live demo. Wow. Incredible. One question came to mind was, So it's a data import module, but to me, it almost kind of comes off as a data stream in a way, because like all you have to do is just hit this API, right? Because like server 123 is going to the ESRI server, and that data is persisting there, and you can just like hit it anytime you want. So I'm curious, like, why go with why go with the data import UX where you have to click import and then you're going to import at that time and click it, versus just like live stream that updates on some cadence.
We actually, we've been thinking about that's certainly, that's a good point. Yeah, we've been thinking about that, and then that's still a possibility. But the sort of purpose of this demo, I want to sort of click something, show up. But that's a good point.
I guess just follow up question on this. Sorry. So does that mean that if you've been thinking about it, does that mean that you have stubbed out like an activity or not activity stream, data stream entity, kind of analogous to the importer?
What do you?
Like basically hooking something up to an endpoint and saying the stream is going to come from here, and then attaching a business logic to like ETL the data from the stream on some frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Like is that something that y'all have like started to build or no?
We haven't really.
Well, one thing you can do is in Arches 7.6, maybe in an early version in 7.5, is you can use the command line to run the bulk loader. So you could just put the a call of that command in a cron job, or use celery beat to call it at intervals and have it regularly updated. Yeah. So.
Everything else you described about the live stream, we demoed, except for the recurring part, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.